welcome along to today's session. Today we're going to talk about starting up a business. We're going to look at it from a relatively high area, and over other sessions that I do we'll delve into more detail, but it's something I get asked quite a bit, so I thought it'd be a fun topic to have a bit of a chat around and just look at what it might take or some of the things you should consider. So if you're starting up your own business, I mean, there's lots and lots of opportunities, but one of the things I think is really important is to consider things like, what's your passion? I mean, if it's going to be your own business, and one of the things about running your own business is it's pretty much 24/7, right? So it's really important, if you're going to do something like that, you really do something that you're passionate about. And if you talk to anybody that's been successful in business, I'm absolutely sure they will tell you that what kicked them off or what's helped their success is the fact that it's a topic or a subject, or they're offering a service that they're really, really passionate about. So I think that's the first and foremost. And most people that do tend to want to kick off their own business, I find anyway, usually have something they're really passionate about, and you know, that's always a great place to start. So we're going to look at a few things, and let's have a look, because as you'll know, and from what I've just said, the opportunities are endless. Now, one of the things that's really important when you're considering to kick off your own business is to actually really sit back and really be clear about what it is that you're wanting to do. So planning is absolutely critical. And you know, business planning, you might have heard about business planning. I can't say enough how important it is that you start to think about those things. But let's look at three key areas that are really broad and quite overarching, and you'll see other clips and stuff that we offer on this that goes into more details, but three key areas that kind of sit across the top of that broader planning. And that's literally from I've got a concept all the way through to I'm actually launching this product and service. And I like to put it under three areas: define, design, and deliver. Now let's start where I see sometimes businesses, especially small businesses, have maybe gone a little bit wrong. And it's not so much that it's wrong, but what can happen is if you skip steps and rush in, it can actually cost you time and money further down the track, and even to the point where sometimes it can even cost you your business, which we never want, right? So why define up front? I know we can all get really passionate around our product or our service that we're wanting to take to market, and there's a real kind of passion to just run in and let's do it. To give you an example, let's say you had a real passion around setting up a gaming app, and you just really wanted to do this gaming app and really just take it to market. I've seen a lot of people, and what they do is they rush in and they go and find people that have got the background that can help them build this app, right? And they spend a lot of money and a lot of time, and then they go and they come and I'm talking to them, they go, Trace, I've got this great app and it's fantastic, you know, and it is really good. Some of the things, the solutions, the innovation I've seen are wonderful. But the problem is, and it may sound obvious, but the problem is they haven't stopped to actually look and understand things like, has anyone else got a similar app like that? Have you got a market for it? So who's actually going to buy it? Who are your customers that you're looking to target at this? How are you actually going to even take it to market? So if you're, you know, wanting to sell that app out there, which is awesome, you know, on what basis are you looking to get it to the market? So that first step around define is absolutely critical. I can't say it enough. Got to do it. To give you another example is if you're going to build a house, and boy, I don't know about some of you, but I've built a few houses over the years, and I always tell myself I'm not going to do it again, but anyway, we shouldn't go down that track. But if you're looking to build a house, one of the first things you do is you don't rush in and get tradies around and go, right, let's build it. The first thing you do is you sit down and you work out, where is the house going to be? What do you want the house to look like? You know, what's going to be in the house? All of that is absolutely critical, and it's exactly the same when you're starting your own business. You have to be really clear about who is your market, who are your customers, who are you wanting to sell this to, how are you wanting to take it to market. So that definition stage it's got to be done. And there's some fantastic material out there around how to define what your business is, business planning, all that type of thing. Once you've got that level of detail, then we move to the design stage. Now, some people might say, oh, well, doesn't that fit in the define? Well, yes, it does to a degree, but what happens through your definition is at a relatively high level, we're defining what our product or our service is, who our market is, how we're going to take it to market, who we think is going to buy it, who we think our competitors are, what some of the weaknesses and opportunities are, or SWOT analysis for those that haven't heard that before. Just a little FYI, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, and a great thing to do. So let's get back to the design. So up front, you've designed what that product and service will look like. Now we get into the design. We really get into the detail. So if we go back to our house scenario again, and we were building a house, what we've done up front is we've defined where we want to build our house, you know, what that's going to look like and all those type of things. Now we're really into the design of that house. So we're really getting into the detail. Things like, what's the foundation going to be for your house? What's the flooring going to be? What are all the appliances you're going to have in the house? What colour paint do you want to use? How long do you want it to take? Why that's important is because every decision you make along the way will have a time and a cost implication. Again, maybe I've started the house scenario now, so we'll keep going with it. But if you think about it, when you're building a house, there's all types of flooring out there, and some will cost you $100 per square metre, some will cost you $1,000 per square metre. Now, I've just made that up. I have no idea around the flooring, but all of those add up when you look at the total cost of your house, right? You have to get door handles. So the devil's always in the detail. And I can't say that enough. The amount of times I've talked to people and said the devil is in the detail. And it really is. So your design phase is to tease out all that detail. And the reason being is that you haven't actually launched or started to actually put together your product or service yet. And the reason for that is because you really need to know what is your upfront cost going to be. So if we come back to the house scenario again, I might have had a fantastic wish list that would have all these things on it, and my house that I was thinking was going to cost me $400,000 is now costing me $800,000, right? So then I've got decisions to make. Do I want to spend $800,000, and where am I going to get that money from? Or can I do it for $400,000, and what's the give up to do it? It's exactly the same with your business. What is your product or service going to cost to take to market, and how much is it going to cost to actually build the thing, test the thing, and then make sure it works, right? So again, depending on where you're getting your funding from, it's really important to define up front exactly what it is you want, what you need, and all the aspects of that business. And when you get into the design, look at the detail that's required in it, because at the end of that point, you'll actually have a really good view on the time involved to design that product and service, and the time involved to take it to market, and more importantly, the cost. The amount of times I've seen people that have actually set up a business and haven't realised the cost to actually run that business, not only to develop the product and service, but then to actually operationalise that service. Because it doesn't stop after you take it to market. You've got to be able to manage all the ongoing costs, and some of those might include having to bring staff on or use third-party providers to help you with it. So it is really high level, but again, we've talked about define, design and deliver. So the deliver phase here is, now we've worked out what it is that we want to actually create, we actually need to build it. And again, we won't go too much into the deliver today, but this is where if you've got project planning background, it really helps. It doesn't matter if you don't. There's a logical path that you follow, but effectively what you're going to do is build what your product looks like, and then you need to test it, right? And there's all different ways to build it, and there's all different ways to test it, but key phases that you need to look at. The other thing you need to do too is, if this is a new business, you need to look at how you're going to take it to market. So what's your marketing strategy? Lots of different strategies here. I won't go too much off into the strategy scenario today, but how are you going to take that to market, right? So really take the time out to think about what that looks like. What's your marketing strategy going to be? What's your PR strategy going to do? So you're looking at a pre-launch phase, right? So that when you've got your product ready, you've tested it, you know it works, then it's like all systems go, let's hit the ground running and let's launch this product. So there's a lot within that, but definitely some of the things that you need to consider before you just run out and open up the doors and say, I'm going to do this. Again, it's not saying you can't do that, and look, you know, good luck to you if you do. I think that's great. But my experience has been that it is really critical to do the work up front. I personally believe it'll save you time and money down the end. Okay, so let's have a look at some other things to think about. Enlist the right capability. What I mean here is take the time to talk to people that have done it before, or that really play in this market and that they know what they're doing. So there's some really great people out there that are happy to mentor people or give you advice or give you thoughts on different things that you can do. So have a look at who you've got around you that can help you, right? Enlist the right capability also means if you need to do some technical builds, you need to create certain aspects that you don't have the knowledge about, then really have a look around and find out people that are really good at doing those certain things. So again, if we come back to, let's say you're developing an app or something along those lines, get out there and find out people that actually are really good at this. But also make sure you get references, right? So talk to people that have done it, that can say, hey, look, one of the best people I used was this person or that person. Because what you'll often find is some people are really good at marketing, but aren't so good at making it work or delivering it. So check out capability. I'm the eternal optimist. So sometimes it's quite good to have people around you that will put a bit of what they call a black hat on and look at what could go wrong, right? So you want a lot of capability around you that are offering advice and helping and supporting, but also maybe helping you with some of the build and the testing and that as you go along as well. There's lots of different advisors. And again, have a think right up front, you know, when you're defining what it is you want to do, also take the time to define what's the capability you're going to need as you go through the different phases. So again, if we come back to our house scenario, if we're building a house, we're looking to, you know, bring it to life, obviously. Right up front, you'll need an architect, right? So at some point, you'll need to sit down and talk to an architect. And then once you've done that with the architect, you'll probably need to find your builder. And then with the builder, you'll then need to look at all the tradies that you need, you know, your plumbers, your painters, and all those different types of things. So you've got to have the right capability, but definitely right up front, it's really important to take the time to think about all those elements, because there's nothing worse, and the house scenario is a good one, there's nothing worse than getting in to build your house and realize you hadn't considered all the different people that you need to support you to develop that house, right? So capability is critical. Take the time and have a look. It's amazing the people you find as you go along. And as I say, if this is the first one you've done, there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help. Check out some of the government websites. There's some really good stuff out there for small businesses on the government website. Lots of tools, templates, and a lot of advisory services. So check that out. Okay, consider all the moving parts. Well, one of the things, as I said at the beginning, let's say you're building a gaming app. Happy days, fantastic, that's great, right? I've never built a gaming app, but I've played with some of them and they're fantastic. But what you have to think about is it's not just your gaming app. Let's say you're going to take that to market. You have to look at all the moving parts. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of things to consider. Again, you need to consider this up in the first phase when you're defining it. But some of the things that I mean by that is that you've got a gaming app, you want to take it to market, you're going to need to what we call operationalize it. So you're going to have a little team or a small team around you, maybe it's you initially, that is actually going to be able to help you with all the support. So people might have queries, who do they ring? or do they send you an email, or how do they pay for it? Do they pay for it? All of those require a back end operation, right? So people need to be managing how it works at the back end. So you need to think of all the moving parts. Are there regulations that you need to be aware of depending on the market that you're based in? Have you considered all the market requirements? The funding, how are you going to pay for it? How do people pay you? There's lots of different moving parts. So make sure you take the time to think about all those different elements and dynamics that you need when you're doing that. Okay, so the path to success, right? Really, I can't say enough how much I love having my own business, and it's actually businesses now. I've run a few over the years and still setting up a whole lot more. It is a lot of fun, especially if it's your own and it's something you're passionate about. So, the first and most important thing for me is I want people to be successful in this game. We all know the stats that many people fail running their own businesses, and that is true, and part of why I like to do these clips or videos is to try to stop failure, right? And I can't say it enough. The first and foremost is making sure you do the work up front. Do your homework, right? It's so important that before you rush in, even though passion is great, and don't lose that passion and enthusiasm, you have to do your homework up front. You have to understand what it is you're getting into, which leads directly into the second point, which is don't rush in. Take the time, talk to people, really look at what you're wanting to do from a whole lot of different angles, because all of it will cost you time and money, and it'll cost you more if you rush in and you haven't done that homework up front. Again, third point, I've said it enough, make sure you take the time out to talk to others about it. It's really important that you talk to people that have done this before, that might be in similar industries or maybe not so similar, but listen to others, get the insights they have, and that will really help you in the long run with what you're looking to do. There's a lot of materials online. I mean, just Google whatever it is that you're wanting to do, and a ton of materials out there. Definitely, I can't say enough, check out the business websites. Sorry, not the business websites, the business websites definitely, but government websites. Government have a wealth of information. So check out your local government sites. They'll have a whole host of things in there for small business. Tools, templates, lots of different stuff, which is the fifth point, the government business agencies. There's a lot of different agencies out there that can support you with it, and they often have a lot of advisory services, so check those ones out too. Fun with that. Take your time. I know I have a tendency to rush. It has cost me over the years, and so if there's one thing I would say is take your time. What I would say though, and probably the counter to that is, just don't get too lost in all the information that's out there though too, because you can actually get to a point where you get so lost in the detail you actually don't move forward. So at some point, you have to put your foot in the water, so to speak. So take your time, but don't get analysis paralysis, is what we often say, which is and look, the last point, which I'm all about, you've got to have fun, enjoy yourself. It's life is about living, and the absolute critical point from me is have fun with it. So I hope you enjoyed that session, and tune in for a few more that we're going to do too. Thanks.